Anything physical that is manufactured by man is clearly made by men. So that has absolutely nothing to do with an imaginary God. Absolutely nothing. Your God is fictional, imaginary, and as far as I'm concerned, does diddly squat.
Are you done with your
I'm just
answer?
saying,
Okay.
you're pointing to man-made things that we all know is made by man.
How do
What's
you know?
that got to do with a God?
Okay, are you done? Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's your turn.
How do you know man made this? Prove it.
Well, I could take you to the factory. I could
Where-
take you to the designer.
take me.
I
Let's
could take
go.
you.
The designer for this phone, have you ever met him?
What's that got to do with it?
Meaning, you're saying this is designed without any evidence that you're bringing forward.
You've got the evidence in your hand
How is that evidence that this is designed?
because there's no other way it could exist without somebody designing
Why not?
it. Because man designed it.
You just proved my point.
No, I
There is
haven't.
no way that
I've
this
said-
could. Can I finish? Now you're interrupting me, right? You just said that this is the evidence that there's a designer. This is amazing.
Yes.
Let me speak now. Okay, you spoke. I listened. I was
agreeing
polite.
with you.
Thank you. You just said this is the evidence that there is a designer without ever seeing a design, without ever seeing the designer. Something unseen you believe because of this. Well, if that's true, then you are the evidence that there is a creator.
My mother created me with my father.
Your mother did not create you.
Yes, she
Your
did.
mother gave birth to you. She didn't design you. She didn't
created
design
me
your brain.
in 9 months.
I will
She
let you.
created me from a single cell.
I will let you finish.
She created me from a single cell in 9 months.
Are
That's
you-
pretty
are you-
amazing.
Are you done speaking?
Yeah, now you can.
Okay.
Now you can have a go.
Thank you. Your mother didn't create you, she gave birth to you. She didn't design your lungs. She didn't even know what you would look like. She didn't know if you were going to be whole when you were born. She didn't know what color eyes you would have. She didn't know what gender you were. She gave birth to you. That's like saying a factory designed the phone. No, a factory produces the phone. It doesn't design it. Your creator designed you. Who made your heart? Who made the functionality for your kidneys to work and cleanse your urine? It's not your mother that sat there and put those programs.
Well,
Who
it's
made
not-
your?
it's not
Can I
your claim
finish?
either.
Can I finish?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Now, your statement that this by itself is the evidence that there is a creator, a designer, proved my point. The evidence of you standing here and your functionality is evidence that there is a designer and a creator, and it's not your mother. Now, let's talk about, thank you. Let's talk about evidence. There is a man named Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Have you heard of him?
Have I heard of him? Who
It's
hasn't?
a question. Maybe some people haven't. I met a
don't-
gentleman
I don't-
here last time that hadn't, but it's okay.
I
Have you
don't
heard of
believe
him?
That. It has to be living under a rock.
Maybe he does live under a rock. I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot of rocks in Nottingham.
I have Muslims in my family.
Okay, so then you have heard of him.
I grew up in Muslim countries.
What countries?
I've spent 5 different countries.
Which countries?
Do you want a list?
There's 5. You can name them pretty quick. It's not that difficult.
Well, Malaysia.
You lived in Malaysia?
Yeah.
Where in Malaysia?
Morocco, in the capital and in the south.
Which is what?
There's KL
Kuala Lumpur.
and Johor Bahru.
Oh, nice.
down in the
Beautiful
south.
country. Malaysia, I love it. I've been there, love the people.
Sure.
Go ahead, Morocco.
I've lived in Morocco, Tunisia. In fact, I'm going to Tunisia in 4 weeks.
Do you like it?
I love it. I'm going to retire there.
I love Tunisia too. Morocco. I haven't been there, but inshallah coming. Where else?
Great.
2 more countries to go.
Which ones have I said? Oh, Turkey.
You lived in Turkey.
Only for a short while.
How long?
Oh, just a few months. That's it.
That's more vacation than living. All right. How'd you like Turkey?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, good. Where
Istanbul
else?
was brilliant.
Gotcha. Go
Loved
ahead.
it.
This is just me getting to know you as a person. Go ahead. What's the 5th country?
Which ones have I said? Malaysia.
You forgot already?
Dubai. Well, you know.
If you lived somewhere, you'd pretty remember, man. Unless you're just kind of making these up. But okay, Malaysia, Tunisia, Morocco, Turkey is what you've said.
I know there's another one.
There is, huh?
Yeah.
You lived there and you forgot the name of the country?
Well, I've lived in a lot of countries.
Really? Are you
Sorry, Michael. We've just got our.
How you doing?
I just wanted to say you do some fantastic work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
He's not
Perfect.
I'm on my path. to
Inshallah,
Islam. Thanks to
inshallah.
you, yeah.
May Allah bless you.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. Excellent.
Thank you.
Barakallah feek. Thank you.
Do you have a point to this?
I do. Well, I mean, I'm just getting to know you. What's the fifth country?
I can't remember.
Really? You lived in a country, you can't remember the name?
Move on, please.
I'm kind of...
Just move on.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
because...
you're doing this for the video.
I'm
fine.
not. I'm
Then move
honestly
on,
not. Let
please.
me tell you why I'm doing it.
Why?
Because I like to have honest conversations. And if somebody tells me something that's not honest, it kind of tells me something about the person. So if you lived in a country, you would definitely remember the name of it. You just threw
You made
five...
your point. Move on.
Can I finish? I'll make my point when I'm finished, if you don't mind. Thank you. So this is the thing with a lot of people. They say things, I know Islam, I've lived in Muslim countries, I've done this. You threw the number 5 and you can't even remember the fifth country, which kind of makes me doubt your claim. But that's okay. It doesn't even matter if you live in Muslim countries or not. That's just getting to know how honest of a person you are. Now, you said you know about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. How could a man who could not read or write bring forth such a literary work that the linguists of the time, the poets of that time, could not bring something like it?
Well, I disagree with the fact that they couldn't bring anything like it.
Okay.
It's basically saying, it's saying in the Quran that you can't match it.
Okay.
And nobody's ever tried.
Really?
As far as we
Nobody
know.
tried?
Well, do we have evidence that people tried?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's assume that somebody tried.
Do you want me to tell you about it?
Okay, go ahead.
So you made 2 incorrect statements, just to be clear. The first thing you said is that people could match it. Second thing you said is nobody tried. First thing, we know Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, and others, they went to the poets of Arabia. You can look up, and I'm not even Muslim resources. If you look up Karen Armstrong or Martin Links, or you can look at other Western writers that have written about this, that those poets, they put together works. Even Musaylim al-Kadhdhab, do you know who he is? Oh, then maybe you need to research a little bit more, huh? All right, Musaylim al-Kadhdhab was a false prophet at that time who tried to come up with a book like the Quran and miserably failed. The An-Nadir and others that were poets in the time of Jahiliyyah, they were paid by the Quraysh to try to come up with a book like it, and they all failed, even though they were poets. And the Prophet, can I finish?
Yeah.
I mean, because you didn't know about this, I want to help you learn, educate you, so then you can speak with knowledge, not ignorance, right? So many tried at that time. This is documented in books of history. You can look up the biographies of the Prophet, written by non-Muslims and Muslims, and they document that they tried. In fact, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, according to the consensus of the people of the biographies, the ulama of what we call maghazi, the biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he could not read or write. And he never wrote a poem. The poets, they used to write 10,000 line poems. There is a book called Alfiya ibn Malik, this for your notes. And there is an explanation called Sharh ibn Aqil. I studied this book. In it, they bring forth the poetry from the pre-Islamic era, and it talks about those poets and how eloquent they were. But when they heard the Quran, the likes of Hassan ibn Thabit, you know who that is? You need to learn. You're coming out here making claims without knowledge. Hassan ibn Thabit was a poet. When he heard the Quran, he accepted Islam. He became Muslim. Banu Tamim is a tribe. Have you heard of it? And you need to spend more time in Muslim countries. Banu Tamim were poets. They were an eloquent, huge tribe. When the Quran was recited, they said, we swear by Allah, nobody could bring this except the Creator. None of our poets could match this. Hence, they became Muslim. So that means people did try and fail. How is that?
Well, first question I would ask you is...
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
My granddad is 105 years old.
That's great. Brother, we're in a conversation. Jazakallah khair.
Sadaqiyum. Peace up.
I'm not a peer.
He's 105 years old.
May Allah give him long life.
Second World War veteran for Neugiev. Alhamdulillah.
Sorry, it's your people, not mine. So.
Not
Alhamdulillah.
my people either.
Well, I'm not from here. I'm from the U.S., bro. So. All right, go ahead. So how could it be? Go ahead.
Let me just ask you.
Please.
Who actually decides whether somebody has bettered the Quran or not?
Excellent. Good question. So at that time, Arabian society, the different tribes, non-Muslims as well, many of them were enemies of the Prophet, peace be upon him. They looked at the writing of Musaylim al-Kadhdhab and laughed at it. And they told all those poets that you have not been able to bring a book like it. Not just the Muslim society, but the non-Muslim, by agreement, said nobody could bring anything like the Quran. It was so eloquent, so beautiful, that poets couldn't match it. And that challenge stands. Even recently, for your information, what is called the 700 Club, it's a Christian organization out of the US. And the thing about in the 90s, they paid professors to come up with a book like the Quran. You can look up the actual project, and they failed. They said,
say that again?
there's a thing called the 700 Club. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, it's a Christian organization in the US.
Yeah.
Has TV channels, huge.
okay.
They gathered lots of funds, millions of dollars, to do a project to make something like the Quran. And they failed. They were unable to. They said, when we make the we're unable to put the rulings and regulations. And when you put the rulings and regulations, we lose the beauty of the language. So that means from the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, till our time, nobody has been able to match that challenge. Many have tried. I've given you the references. You can go look them up.
But I'm not saying they haven't tried.
You did earlier.
I'm saying, well,
we do have video for it. So
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, if people were to try, who actually makes the decision
okay.
as to whether it's better or worse or the same? Who actually decides? The people by consensus?
Great question.
Or individuals?
I answered that already, but I'll answer it again just for you. Which is, in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Arabian society...
No, I'm talking about now.
Okay. Today, if somebody tries and brings it forward, people like you and me can read it and evaluate and see how it connects with us.
So it's a consensus of opinion.
Sure.
Majority rules.
No. As I said, an individual would make their own decision, right? For example, if somebody brings a book that is as eloquent in recitation, with the rulings and regulations, with the stories of the past, with the scientific facts, with discussion of the future, with the day of judgment, with the introduction to God, all of that put together in the eloquent manner that can be memorized like the Quran, that can be taught like the Quran, that we can derive all of the Arabic language rulings from it like the Quran, I would love to see it. Haven't seen it yet? 1400 plus years? Have you?
No. Well, I don't know.
So that's a good question. People have tried, and till today, they have failed.
You just said people have a consensus of opinion as to whether it can be bettered.
Once again, I did not say that. I said there would be a consensus in society, but an individual would make their own decision.
Well, yeah.
You would make your own decision.
I'd make my own decision.
Right, but is there a book like that?
Well, is there a book like that? I haven't read every book in the world,
Once
so
again,
I couldn't tell you if
I
there's
didn't,
a book like that.
I didn't ask you if you read every book in the world.
Well, I would have to be able to answer that question.
Can I finish?
Sure.
Thank you. First you said nobody has tried, right? That's on video, so don't say you didn't. Okay. And then when I gave you evidence of those that had tried from the past and the present and failed, then...
Well, I don't disagree with that.
Okay. How would you disagree?
You've assumed that they failed.
Okay.
But go on.
Musaylim al-Kadhdhab, it's not me. His own people told him you have failed. Okay?
So that's an opinion.
That's an opinion.
Right.
So that
doesn't mean they fail. That's just the guy has an opinion that somebody's failed.
So, was it a book that brought a change like the Quran?
Say that again? Was it
Musaylim al-Kadhdhab's work in trying to make something like the Quran, did it bring an effect like the Quran?
I have no idea. I haven't read his book.
Okay. So the fact that you haven't read it shows he failed. Because it did not guide... Hold on.
Just because I haven't read it doesn't mean he failed.
Can I finish?
Sure.
Okay. Now, the Quran, it brought a change in the world. Today, there's almost 2 billion people who benefit from the Quran.
Harry Potter brought change in the world.
Can I finish?
Yeah, okay.
You cannot compare Harry Potter and the Quran because the Quran has legal rulings. Quran has ahkam, sharia, how to live, how not to live, punishments, laws. It has news of the future. It has prophecies that came true about the battles between Romans and Persians and who would win. Harry Potter is a fictional book. So if it's a fictional book, how would a man in a desert know that salt water and sea water touch but don't mix?
He wouldn't know that.
Then how come it's in the Quran?
Well,
Yes.
first of all, people living on, most people, when they formed a community, they usually formed it at the mouth of a river. And they were aware that the river water coming past was free of salt, and the water in the sea was salt.
You
they
just
knew
said
that.
you just said
They
he
already knew
wouldn't
that.
know that.
Well,
Earlier, right now, is it on video?
Yeah.
How would a man in a desert know that salt water and sea water touch but don't mix?
he wouldn't know that.
Then did you guys hear him say? He just said he wouldn't know that, and now you're saying he
Well,
would know that.
He might not know that because if he doesn't go and test the water, he wouldn't know it.
So he wouldn't know it.
Well, he might do because if he tested the water, then he would know it. I'm saying,
picture of you.
Can-
I've got 50 minutes for my lesson.
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying it could be either.
Just 1 second,
Okay,
I'm just trying to
less
help
than
you, brother.
15
Go ahead. How would the Prophet Muhammad have known, peace and blessings be upon him, that the sun has an orbit?
Well, he sees it go across the sky.
The sun.
Yes.
You think the sun going across the sky means it's moving in an orbit? Or is the earth rotating?
It observes. It appears.
I mean, clouds go across the sky, they don't have an orbit, right? So when you see the sun going across the sky, it doesn't tell you it has an orbit. Even scientists till very recently didn't believe the sun had an orbit. The sun going across the sky is from the day and the night, the movement of the earth, as the Quran talks about the
Yeah,
day and the
it's
night.
about observation.
So the sun moving in its orbit cannot be observed by the human eye.
It's observed crossing the sky.
Okay. When the sun
You're just playing semantics.
Can I speak?
Yeah, of course.
When the sun goes across the sky,
It
is the
appears to
sun
be-
moving or is the earth moving?
Well, it appears
Uh-huh.
that the sun is moving.
Okay. Which one is moving?
The opposite.
Okay. Does the earth move?
Yes.
Can you observe the movement of the earth?
No, because you're on it.
Okay. So when the Quran talks about the planets, including earth, being in an orbit, how would the Prophet know about that?
Because he can see it.
He could what?
He can see it.
He can see the earth moving.
No, he can see the sun and the moon moving.
Okay,
Not the earth.
So again, you're contradicting yourself because either you say that the sun. Can I finish?
Yeah.
Either you say the sun moving and the
Yeah.
moon moving across the sky would allude to that having an orbit,
Yes.
and the earth not moving would make you
Yes.
think it doesn't have an orbit.
Yeah.
But the Quran tells us that the planets like earth also have an orbit. So if the Prophet saw the sun moving and didn't see the earth moving, then how would he know the earth and planets like it have an orbit?
So where does it say Earth has an orbit?
The Quran, all the planetary bodies, yasbahun, they go in their orbit. Surah Al-Anbiya.
So
Have you read the Quran?
yes.
Then you missed that part?
Well, I didn't study it. at
Well, then
depth.
maybe you should.
Well, what I'm saying is
Then you should.
it. What it's
Take a deep
suggesting-
breath, relax.
Yeah, what it's saying. The verse that I'm referring to. I can't remember the actual verse.
Okay.
But it's saying that the sun and the moon are moving each in their own orbit.
Okay.
And the fact that the moon is actually orbiting the Earth, that's the observed opinion.
I will let you finish.
And it's the same with the sun. And I think that the Quran is referring to the sun being in an orbit the same as the moon.
I will let you finish.
And the reason I think that is because in the Quran it says that the sun casts a shadow on the earth.
Where does it say that?
Sorry, James. Yeah,
There you do.
I've got to go. My son's leaving the country.
Where's the evidence for what you just said?
I'll love to catch up with you, but my son
Okay.
is leaving the country, and I have to
Have
spend some
a
time
safe
with him.
trip. Thank you.
ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا